Welcome everybody to the first ever episode of For Beginners by Beginners, Path of Exile edition. My name is Stalo. Thank you so much for choosing my channel and taking time to watch my video. If you get the chance, hit the subscribe button if you feel like this content was helpful, and leave comments. Let me know what you think and what you guys would like to see moving forward. First thing that you're going to do in this game is you're going to pick your character. One of the most exciting moments for a gamer is starting a new game, getting to either choose or create or customize a character. Now, I will tell you, in Path of Exile, there's not going to be any customizing your actual character. So whatever character you pick, that is how they're going to look through the entire game underneath the armor and the aesthetics that you're going to put on them. I don't want you to put too much emphasis on picking the character based on how they look. Pick a character based on what type of build you want to run, what type of build is going to let you as an individual have the most fun. The first step to doing that is you're going to go onto YouTube and you're going to search Harvest Budget League Starter Build. Now you can swap Harvest if there's a different league out at the time you're watching this video. You can swap it for a different league. So you're going to search for this and it's going to come up with all of these different things. Now we're going to talk about why you search this specifically as opposed to just looking for the best Path of Exile builds that are out there. Once you find one, you're going to click on it and you're going to go and you're going to watch some video footage. Now you can see some of them are, this video is 28 minutes and it's got 10 different builds in it. So you're going to go through and you're going to see 10 different builds in action, and they're going to give you a brief synopsis of that build. But others are going to be more extensive. So this Arc Witch is a single build, but it's 35 minutes. That's probably going to be a full guide on the Arc Witch build. You don't necessarily need that when you're first starting. The main thing I want you to look at, don't worry about stats. Don't worry about items and all these things. If it's a budget league starter build, then you can do it. The only thing you need to worry about beyond that is what looks like you are going to have fun and enjoy playing. You want to get either just the name of the build, bare minimum, you need the name of the build, but more ideally, you'll have a link to PoE Builds.cc or a Pastebin link for a path of building. And then we're going to move on to step 2. Step 2 is you're going to go download a free community-made application called Path of Building. I'll put a link in the description. The link is going to take you to a GitHub repository. You're going to download that application, and once you install it, it's going to look something like this. Now, at first glance, this doesn't look very helpful. But minimize this so you guys can see what's going on here. When we combine the build that you found with this application, it's going to be your best friend when you're playing Path of Exile. Something worth noting, if you're playing on console, you do not need a gaming PC to run Path of Building. It will run on any PC. You go over here, PoE Builds.cc. There's a lot of Path of Exile build sites. This one is the one I recommend. I think it's probably the best made, and it also has a pretty large amount of builds for you to choose from. As you can see, one of the top builds, most popular builds right now is Inky's Arc Witch build. We're going to use that as our example in this video. Doesn't mean that you have to run it, but I really like the build. I had fun with it, and I think that it's really fleshed out, so you really get to understand what a PoE build should look like on the site. So if you found the video, it's a yes, Inky's Arc Witch build. It's fantastic. You say, yes, I want to be Emperor Palpatine, shoot lightning out of my hands and kill everybody.
Let the hate flow through you.
This is the build for me. You're going to come to this site and you're going to scroll down, and you can look through everything on this build if you wanted to. That's really up to you. But I'm going to show the things that you actually, that's not a word, that you actually need to look at, things that are going to be most pertinent to you. One thing you want to look at is you want to look at pros and cons. So for the Arc Witch build, for instance, we know smooth gameplay and progression, cheap and fully SSF capable. Don't worry about this part at this point. You'll understand this later in the game. But cheap is important. That is why we're looking at budget league starter builds. Cheap means when you get to the end and you do have to buy some things, it's not going to cost you a lot of in-game currency. It can get really tanky. Defense is big in this game, especially if you're running solo. You want to make sure that you can stand up to whatever kind of mobs are going to come at you, and then capable to do all boss fights. So that means there's no boss in the game that they cannot beat. However, the boss DPS lacks a little bit and then can't run all map mods. You can read through some of these. So like the leveling sections, these are going to talk about leveling up. Most builds, as you see them in the YouTube video that you found, are not going to look like that from the start. It's going to take time to build up to that. If it did look like that from the start, it would be kind of a boring game. So you're going to have to build up to there, and when you see leveling guides, that's basically talking about how do I get to the point of the end game that I saw in the video I watched. The biggest thing you're looking for is this path of building. Path of building. So as you can see, some of them actually have the Path of Building community fork built in. That is the application that I just told you to go download. But you are looking for this, the paste bin link. You don't need to worry about all of this. Right? All of this is unimportant. Don't stress about that. Instead, you're just going to take this little link right up here. You're going to copy it. Then you're going to come to Path of Building. You're going to make a new build. Now, this is a completely blank build. This is the entire skill tree in the game. Don't run yet.
Hey, listen.
I know it's a little scary, be a little intimidating. Don't allow yourself to get overwhelmed just yet. This is going to get very easy in just a moment. You're going to go to import. Import from paste bin right down here. You're going to Control V because this application doesn't support right clicking. And you're going to import. It's going to say code is valid, and then you're going to import. Now all of a sudden what you see is this appeared. And what this is the class you choose is going to determine where you start on this skill tree. The short of it, the skill tree looks intimidating because it is the skill tree that is used by every character in the game. Once you realize that, it becomes a little less scary. So the witch, if you choose the witch class, she starts right here. If you choose another class, they may start here. The Scion class, for instance, starts over here. What you'll notice is that there's an entire section that is filled in for you. You start here, and then you're just going to fill your way out. You're going to follow this. And if you're really concerned about the order, some guides will have like Act 1. By the end of Act 1, you should have this. By the end of Act 2, you should have this. But even if they don't, and they just have the full level 100 guide, that's perfectly okay. It's not that big of a deal whether you build this first or whether you build this first. It's not going to make a huge difference. Ultimately, you just want to make sure this is what you have built at the end of the game. You got a few more tabs over here. We can go to skills. This game is a little different in the sense that that skill tree that you just saw does not have anything to do with what abilities you have. It is all about stats. You can get more intelligence, more dexterity, more strength, but it does not give you actual abilities. Instead, gems are what are going to give you abilities. For gems, so for instance, this is the Arc Gem. This is your main spell with this character. This is where she palpatines electricity out of her hands and zaps everybody in front of her. And then you have all of these other gems are supporting this gem. None of these necessarily do something in and of themselves, but instead they boost this gem. You can go down through here, so you'll see this is the Arc regular setup. Orb of Storms is another ability you're going to use on this character. And then we've got 3 gems that support that. The color that you see right here, let's see if we can find, there we go. So this one's red. That means this is going to be a red gem requiring a red slot. When you're watching those videos and you're picking out your build, it can seem a little chaotic. And maybe you don't fully understand what's happening. When you come here and you import your Path of Building, you can actually see what each ability does and understand the mechanics behind it. Next, you're going to go over here to the Items tab. So items are going to tell you what they recommend as best in slot items. Each one is going to have the stats that are on it, as well as the sockets that are on it and whether they're connected or not. Some of them also have alternatives to the ones that they recommend. And then calcs, these are all the numbers. If you're a math nerd like me and you want to really dive in to see all the numbers and what they add up to with that equipment and those gems, in addition to your tree built the way that you built it, this is what you're going to see. This is absolutely huge. I'm telling you, I played Delirium League. I started at the very end. I did not have this application. I was loosely following a build, and when Harvest League started, I started using this application, and it was night and day difference. It's not something you have to constantly have open. Something also worth noting, your items, don't feel like you have to have all these right away. There's a lot of end game in this game. That is it for now for this video. We're trying to keep them as short as possible so they're easy to digest. If you guys thought this was helpful, please subscribe, thumbs up the video, and turn on the notification bell so you can get notifications when our next video comes out. We release videos every Friday. Next week, we're going to talk about filters, which are something that is going to make it really easy for you to sort through items. Once you're done, please comment below with what build you chose to start with. And if you get a chance to play through it a little bit, how are you liking the build so far? Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. God bless, and we'll see you next time.